Teen Titans number 17, written by Scott Lobdell and Fabian Nicieza, art by Eddie Barrows. So, following up from Death of the Family, we're just resetting the board. We're just like, hey, we may have gained some new readers, and we just want to let you know how everything works around here. But first we deal with a guy named Quan Yi, who apparently his ability is, and as is him explaining it, his hands can light up, and then they pop off. The light itself pops off as like a bubble, and then it pops in like a plasma. And he just wants it to stop. Everyone's like, we can control your powers. But he's like, nah, I just don't want it. I want it gone. And he's talking to this doctor who has a name. But regardless, the doctor is he's like, hey, I've helped people with this sort of problem before. I can help you. But if you fear for yourself, then I'm able to take away this gift you may have. And he's just like, yes, of course. So thank you, doctor. That's all I ever wanted. And this kid's like young. This kid looks to be like 13 maybe. And he's like, all right, doctor, when can we start? And the doctor just points him over to a table right next to him and says like, oh, over there, just take off your shirt. And there's these giant needle things. And he's like, kid's like, will it hurt? And he's like, yes, it'll feel like your soul is being torn from your body. But don't worry, that's normal. So as soon as he lays down and gets prepared, the doctor disappears as if he were a hologram, and then the needles just drive into him. And the narration says that for 6 months, Quan Yi hoped and dreamed it would be over, for better or for worse. And then we see, I guess, him still just lying there, but it looks like he's aged about 20 years. And he's just mumbling to himself like, oh, these kids, they have it too good. They're afraid of a little bit of pain. Well, I'll show them pain. I'll show them the light. So that's going to be a villain we deal with at some point, but not today. So apparently during the car ride in a limousine from Gotham to New York, nobody's really talking. And Robin feels bad about having dragged them all into the Joker shenanigans. And they basically are just talking to each other, and Bunker and Cassie bring up, hey, Red Robin, after everything we've been through, can you tell us your real name so that we don't have to keep calling you Red Robin? And Robin explains, like, look, guys, you've met a couple of my, compatriots, and if you knew my secret identity, that would give away their secret identity. Like, I would tell you mine at this point, but, it's not my secret to give up, you know? And at that point, Solstice chimes in like, no, what, I get it. And, even after everything we've been through, I consider us good friends. And he's like, that means a lot. Thanks, Solstice. So then Kid Flash is just running around the car a whole bunch. And he's like, hey, guys, I just zoomed ahead and went to our apartment, our loft in Lex Towers. We've been robbed. Everything is gone. So how do we deal with that? And the limousine drives past the turn where it's supposed to go to Lex Towers, and Kid Flash is like, okay, and also where are we going? And it turns out Tim is just like, hey, I bought a yacht. I bought a super yacht. It's a giant thing. This will now be our base of operations because I've realized, and he goes off this whole thing about like, oh, there's less chance that anyone else but us will have to suffer for our decisions. But it's like, you bought a yacht, dude. So either way, everyone is amazed by it. And he's like, yeah, let me give you all the grand tour. So he walks everybody through. Apparently the living quarters are tight, so they will have to actually bunk up. Bunker's going to be sleeping in the same room as Kid Flash. Wonder Girl's going to sleep in the same room as Solstice. And Red Robin shows off his center of command room with 45 computer screens. And he's like, this is where I'll be keeping track of stuff all over. And he specifically uses the phrase Big Brother is watching. So that might be a thing because Brother I think has ties to Tim Drake. But regardless, he's like, yep, so this is my private quarters. Nobody ever come in here. Okay, that's my only rule. But everything else, I'm going to need help running an entire ship because obviously we can't have a crew, but we should be good otherwise. So that night, they're going to bed, and Kid Flash is too hyperactive for Bunker, and he goes through this whole thing about when I first arrived, I spent 6 months in a group home, and I never really felt like I had a place of my own, so I always got really, really spastic on the first night that I arrive. And Bunker's like, okay, well, how about chill? And Kid Flash is like, cool, thanks, that's all I needed, good night. And then we cut to a scene in Mexico where a man is in a coma named Gabriel, and a woman comes to visit and says like, "Oh, I can't believe what what's I'm blanking on his name, but it's Bunker, but she uses his real name, Miguel. That's it. Says, I can't believe Miguel's not here. I wish he were, but I wish that he had never done this to you, Gabriel. You don't deserve it." So apparently Miguel did something to someone in Mexico, and we'll get to that eventually. Then we see Red Robin just standing out on the deck of the boat, and he's talking to himself, saying like, "Oh, I was going to go to bed, and I could feel you there, Solstice." And Solstice is like, "I thought you were just talking to yourself, but I guess you could always feel me." And he basically says like, Solstice, after everything, I've really realized that sometimes the things you want most in life are just an arm's reach away, as he reaches out and touches her on the arm. And she's like, "What are you getting at?" And then he kisses her. And then she's like, "Wait a minute, but I'm with Bart." And he's like, "Well, Bart's not here." And she's like, "Fair enough." And then they kiss some more. So then we cut to a scene in a coffee shop where some guy gets bumped into. He thinks the words "drop dead," and then everyone drops dead. We don't come back to him, but he's there. So that will eventually come into play. Then we see Red Robin, who has his own room, of course. Wonder Girl knocks on the door, says like, "Hey, I'm wearing your clothes. I'm wearing your t-shirt because there are no clean clothes on this boat. But, let's make out." That's basically how the scene goes. It was just like, "Oh, I'm really grateful you were here and all." And then they start kissing as well. Then we cut to elsewhere, where I'm not going to bury the lead, though the book does. Raven is sitting on a throne of skulls, drinking a goblet of blood, and she says, "Step forward, or I will choke you on the very darkness you wear as a shroud." And then this weird skeleton pops out being like, "Hey, sorry, Raven, your dad's ready to start his plan." And she's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Didn't think it was going to be that soon. All right, well, may all the gods of light and dark hear my prayer that we're going to do this thing." And then we cut back to the yacht, and we see Robin watching over all of his monitors, and he's getting all these different audio feeds in. And it says, one guy's talking about like a drug deal. And he's like, "Hey man, don't talk about that over the phone. You never know when Big Brother is watching." And then we cut to the most horrifically demon-eyed, smiling version of Tim Drake I've ever seen in my life. So he's clearly either not Tim Drake or being possessed. My money's on possession. But hey, he made out with literally every female member of Teen Titans, so good day overall, I guess. I know we're setting up future plots, or even possibly this plot, but like the whole thing in the beginning, the whole thing with the coffee scene, and then that thing at the end with Raven, like, just tell me the story when they're going to be relevant. Like, don't just do me this little Family Guy-esque cutaway gag of just like, "Oh, hey," and then he kills everyone in a coffee shop. But it just seems like I'm not going to remember that. It's as much as you're doing these little things, being like, "Oh, keep an eye out for this in the future." It's like, okay, but tie it into the plot. Have him be like looking at the Titans yacht at the very least. But no, it's just somewhere else in Manhattan. I just don't like the way that this story is told. And this is a thing that's been constant in the Teen Titans, where we just cut to a random other thing that eventually will turn into something we get back to. It annoys me. So yeah, overall, I got to give this one... I was frustrated reading it. I was actually frustrated reading it, so I got to give it like a 5. And the only reason it's not lower than that is because it is the setting up issue. It is getting all the pieces in the places. I understand that there's going to be some growing pains when you enter into a new arc. That being said, this is not the way to do it. So at max, this one's getting a 5, and I could be very easily negotiated farther down the scale from that.